Live, okay. Officially good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending our CIC committee meeting today. Without a quorum, we will be holding on our minutes approval at our next meeting. I think what I will do is just turn it over to Peter if you want to.
Sure.
If you have anything you want to add and kick off our updates.
Sure. The only thing I'll say, and John, on a lot of these construction matters could probably say it more articulately than I could, but there is movement in front of the terminal. They're going to be taking out steel off of the terminal building starting next week. And so there's going to be inconvenience to the travelers, unfortunately, but we're going to try to make it as pleasant as possible. So when they're making that movement, which is removal of steel, and then later they're going to be installing new steel the following week, we have to stop the pedestrian traffic within the terminal. So we have to stop it on the ticketing side and stop it on the baggage claim side. We'll have personnel and fencing and public relations people there to make sure people understand what's going on. And it should be a 4-minute move, each movement, and hopefully not too inconvenient, right? And then starting around the 18th, I guess, the crane is going to be moved from where it is now, closer to the terminal. And so similarly, when they pick up a big piece of steel and move it over the building, we have to make sure there's no people in the building at that spot. In addition to that, so we're going to stop traffic inside them. In addition to that, as you come in now into the terminal on the roadway to ticketing, since the crane will be in front of you as you enter, there's going to be a left-hand turn, and we're going to change the roadway, and it's going to go around the crane and come back into the right. So we're trying to get the word out as best we can. We're studying that from an engineering perspective to make sure that it's as convenient for the customers as possible. So that's the major thing. I don't know if John or John have anything to add to that.
Quick question, and then we'll get into the agenda. But on that, will we have the same? You've opened up lanes. Will we have the same number of lanes, just shifting them? We're not losing any of the lanes that we brought back. So that's great news. And I should have, when I opened up the meeting, said a pleasure to come in today. I come in and I stand up in the corridor and looking out at the site. Just want to thank you all again. It is the vast improvements in such a short amount of time are very noticeable. The cleanliness, I watched the walkway, and I will say I have a friend in construction who constantly travels and sends me their opinion, and sent me a very positive message last week saying how they noticed a very significant difference. So I wanted to make sure I share that. I should have done that when I opened the meeting. So without further ado, I will get right into that agenda. And you can give us our updates, John.
Okay, so for the terminal expansion, as you see, there's quite a bit of steel been erected on the garage side. And as Peter said, we'll be moving over to the terminal side, starting with a smaller hydraulic crane to take the old pieces out. And they'll be ripping out on both sides of this building here in the front for the new mechanical rooms. That's the first thing that comes out. We'll be doing the rip out there. And then they'll get that cleaned out. They have some work to do, some framing work. They have connections to be welded. And then they'll come back, and that's when they'll move the big crane. And we've worked with Turner and MLB and everybody to make it as soft and easy of transition. It's going to be a change than what you have, but again, there will be the 2 lanes. You will be able to get through. So we'll get that moving. And then they have their steel erector scheduled to start erecting the steel and work their way back up through the building in phases. They'll work inside, then outside, then in. So it's pieces, and there'll be one piece that won't be done right now because we have to keep the escalators running. The 2 escalators, that's all we have. Keep them running. But you do see the steel decking going down, so you can see that. They'll advance that across. Once we get the steel decking down, that protects the traveling public, which will be nice. And then at that point, you'll see MLB starting to follow them across, doing the frames for the glazing and all the additional work that needs to come across as they do that. So that's where we are right now. So as you can see, they're moving a little bit faster. There's still some concrete file cap work to be done over by the garage, which MLB will plan on doing while Midwestern, who's their steel erector, is on the terminal side.
Now, on that lane, something just popped in my head. You've really expanded the drop off in front of the new garage.
Yes.
Will that change, or will it just change when you come
It
up?
will change
like
a
for
little bit,
drop-off.
but we're probably gonna lose maybe 2 spots in drop off. We're trying to keep it as minimal as possible. So we're working to keep that as tight, keep the work zone as tight as possible to keep the drop off areas and pickup areas as large as possible. Vestibules 5, 6, and 7 will remain open. So that, which we have now, which makes a big difference for drop off. And then vestibules 1 and 2 on the other side for pickup will remain open, which is what we have now.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Hi, Kevin. I think JR is on too.
Okay.
We just started.
Interview, so I don't.
Thank you. Okay.
John, what's the timetable for having it enclosed in? Do you have any idea?
The enclosure, once they get the steel in, they'll start working to do enclosure. They said they'll be putting the framing work up for the glass. So the enclosure, we're probably looking the framing by March. Start put the glass in and start enclosing it. There's slabs that have to be poured. There's a lot of concrete work around the columns that needs to be done, and they don't want to box themselves out, so they won't enclose it all the way till they get what they need. You got to be able to put a concrete pump in to pump your slab, pump the concrete for your slabs and things like that. So they'll have it partially enclosed, but fully enclosed, I would say probably by June.
How long is the big crane going to be placing steel?
Well, the big crane will be here through the end of the year, probably early January. They'll move it over back out over to the side. I don't know if they're taking it off site or not, but it'll be out of service for quite a while until we can make the switch over and bring everybody over with the new escalators and all that. They have to be put in before we take the old escalators out. But there'll be a big gap, and then that crane will come back to finish the setting the pieces on the east side.
So the crane goes back and forth as the
Correct.
project. Okay.
You got something?
Well, the thing that I'll add is that when the crane does move back, like John was saying, around mid-January, you're gonna move from terminal side back to the garage. They'll start the canopy, redoing the entire canopy. But for the most part, we'll get a lot more curb. The big curb problem will just about be solved come, February 1st, let's say.
Yeah.
We'll get a lot more curb.
So for
Which weather,
for winter break, we
Yeah,
should be
that's-
in good shape.
right.
Yep.
So the more, the better. That's
They
good.
will, as they do the canopy, they have to replace the concrete slabs,
Yep.
curbing. They're gonna encase all the existing frame and metalwork, plus new glazing on top. And they're going to work in different shifts as they go up and down the terminal front with different crews. But they won't be disrupting large areas. There'll be smaller areas of containment that the workers will be in, so the public can easily get around into the buildings with those vestibules. They'll probably up to 5 vestibules at a time.
Yep.
Right.
Jump back and forth, keep the vestibules open as much as we can.
Any other questions before we move on to contracts, change orders? Any updates on that?
No change orders for this board meeting for this project.
Great. Okay, so no updates there. Steve, communications.
Staying, putting out a lot of video and images out on social and traditional news media. Obviously, the steel work, which we've been talking about, I believe they're wrapped up on foundation demo, but they were out there a week or whatever.
Yeah.
Some demo, we got some video of that. Concourse A rehabilitation project, still moving along. Temporary walls are up. They were doing some demo inside the building. You can still hear that, and continuing to work on the ramp. Just let people know there's no impacts to the gates or bridges for those flying Allegiant or United during that project. Continuing to assess signage. New signage has been placed throughout the terminal and outside to get people to and from where they got to go. Having weekly meetings with Pointer. That's the Wayfinder app that's going to be coming. Happy to report that beacons have begun to be installed in the garage this week, and we hope to be going live soon. Had a meeting last week, maybe by December. We'll be able to do some sort of soft launch so people will be able to pin their car when they're in the parking garage or access areas throughout the terminal simply by scanning a QR code. And then we'll be able to change that as construction continues to progress. In terms of earning social media, just staying consistent with messaging. Some of the latest updates that we talked about, the shuttles are now across the street in the old commercial lane. The new crosswalk that goes from long and short-term parking, pretty active. I'm out there a lot checking it out, and there's people constantly using that crosswalk. Even when I'm out to take a quick photo, there was 2 people walking across it. So, in terms of traditional news media, we had all the news stations here. Assembly member Phil Steck requested a visit of the site. CEO and COO gave them a pretty expensive tour around the construction site. And just continue to update the website, both sites, the construction page, and then the new dedicated landing page for the concourse area.
Great, thanks, Steve. Any questions for Steve? Okay, Terminal A updates.
Relay updates. We'll let Matt Boki give you that.
Matt, you're up.
Terminal A is going very well. Currently, on both the first and second floor, they've completed the install of the temporary walls. They're just removing the infrastructure now, ceiling panels, carpet, HVAC, electrical. So that's where they stand there on the inside. On the outside, they've completed the excavation for the concrete apron. They've installed the sub base, and starting tomorrow, actually, they're going to start pouring concrete, which that'll lead it next week as well. So it's going very well so far.
On time, and everything's happening the way you want it.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions on Terminal A? No? Okay, here we go, John. Other projects.
We're gonna mix it up this time.
You are.
We are.
Okay.
So terminal elevator replacement, I got confirmation from Kone that elevator 11, which is the one in C Wing with Southwest, will be delivered in January, early January. So that will start right after the holidays. So that's the update on that. The access gates, we've completed them, including the air traffic control tower, which was a headache because they kept playing with our operators, but we got them to stop that. We had to lock the door. Oh yeah. The air traffic control tower project, they're waiting on 2 parts that are coming in next week to finish the blowers, but everything else has been done. And then the only thing left with that will be to test and balance the system. So, but they do have heat and they have the air conditioning. They have everything they need. It's just a couple of fans that run for the 3rd floor, which is just a mechanical room and a small office there, which they're not using right now. So that's okay. That's moving well. I hope to close that out by the end of the year, have that completely tested out and close it by the end of the year.
And the access gates are closed out. Like there's
Access
no
gates are
punch,
done, yep,
no?
yep.
So we won't see it anymore.
We won't see any more. That will
Nice
come
job.
off.
That went very timely.
Yep. Runway 119, rehab in the perimeter South Road. I spoke with the vice president from Callahan yesterday. They're looking for the weather to break as soon as possible. They want to hit this as their first big job out the door. Callahan will come in with gangbusters and hit it hard. The airlines have been asking for a target dates. I provided them with about a 3-week window because they have to download their planes a little bit. They have to use 2.8 while we have the runway closed for the 7 days, which we'll also do the perimeter road at the same time. And now we're actually going to do the threshold bar that's on the south end with the runway 1 end. We're going to redo the threshold light bar and make that updated and get it back to the newest equipment, LEDs, all that. So in preparation for the new Mauser system next year. So that one's just ready to go. We're in the plane. I just got the plans for the threshold bar yesterday, and I sent them off to Callahan. They'll price it up and give us a quote to get that and add that in to keep that one moving. So that's that one. Airfield lighting controls. The system is online. Air traffic control tower people are 90% trained. There was people that were taking extended vacations and are coming back, but the air traffic control people seem to be working with it fine. There was a couple of minor, I'll say, tweaks that they were looking for that Kraus Heinz is providing for them. They should have that in by the end of the week. And now another one will come off our list. That one is done, and now another one comes off the list. So that'll be great. Jet bridges A6 and B6. I've been in contact with VRH, who is the contractor that got awarded that project. They're in the production schedule with JBT/Oshkosh. Oshkosh bought them out. We're looking at a delivery date on that, early spring for the first one for A6 to get that up, and B6 will be right behind it. So they should be done before summer next year, which is good. Before we get to the heavy travel season, we'll have both of those done. So JetBlue and United will have new bridges there.
Okay, on the car rental facility, we received 3 proposals for requests for RFQs. We're currently evaluating those as we're looking at all the entire parking facilities, and we're just in the process of reviewing those, and we'll get back to you with our recommendations.
Moving on to Mausers.
Yes.
No change in that as of right now. Both Connor and I have been in contact with the FAA. We're still waiting to see if we can't jump somebody else's Mauser system. If somebody falls behind, we're going to jump in and take it. But right now, we're still on for 2026.
2020 what?
2026.
In hopes they can do it.
Well, they'll do it for 2026. We're actually on their program for that, but we're looking to jump somebody's next year. If they can't be ready, we'll take theirs and do it in 2025.
Fingers crossed.
And the transfer project, we just received, National Grid completed their design, we just received their cost proposal on that, which actually would be a board item. Now CHA can complete their design, we'll be looking at early bid, springtime for a bid.
So you don't have anything coming before the board next?
No. Nope.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Any planning updates?
I think John's gonna take.
Well, on the master plan, comments are forthcoming. Connor and I will collaborate and get a response back to the board. Then maybe November, maybe December.
And anything on the NYSERDA was set at status
Yep,
quo?
still the NYSERDA. Matt's been working with the CHA and Aztec Geothermal, and he can give you a quick update on that.
We're currently about 30% design that was submitted to the state. Test wells were completed, which that will be a board item coming up to get. Aztec was the contractor for that. So we got that next week.
It's reimbursable,
Reimbursable through.
but it's a sizable amount of money to drill an 800-foot deep hole. So.
I would think so. There we go. Any other updates on any of the projects?
Matt's got one for the garage for the car.
Yes, so we completed the south garage last week, 3,000 linear feet. The caulk was replaced. The main emergency areas, I guess, the crucial work. There's still obviously work we need to be programmed for in the future. Currently in north garage this week, today, we're still doing rip out, and we'll assess if any other additional work needs to be completed, before the winter on the help. Just to get
That should be done within a couple of days.
That would be done next week. It's
Probably
gonna
next
be done
week, yeah.
We have this week to do it.
this week, rip out next week, caulk install.
Okay.
So before Thanksgiving,
You
it'll
want
be.
those spaces back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, any other items? Any questions? Well, that might be our fastest meeting. Great job, and thank you, everyone. Motion to adjourn? Steve, second? Janet? Thank you all.